Welcome back everybody to the WHAM, the Wrestling Association of the Mid-South, here on TEW IX and Mark Northern's Effganic Genesis mod. We have reached September 6th, 1932. We are getting closer to the end of the year, ready to bring in a new one. And we have certainly turned a direction with our company, not just with the morale penalties being behind us, but with a crop of new stars and faces hungry to make an impact. And we've got our next event already booked, so let's get right into it. The first of 3 pre-show matches, an intergender tag team match, as Birbidia Abeta and Wayne Blankenship are back in the tag team scene, competing against Veronica Letter and Kita Hachikukui. Now, Veronica Letter and Kita Hachikukui were the ones to come away with the victory, but it cannot be understated that Birbidia Abeta is getting a lot better and is impressing in the ring. In-ring performance of 40, Veronica Letter got a 48, Kita Hachikukui got a 39, and Wayne Blankenship out of the 20s, got himself a 31. Match rating of 40 for the pre-show match. Singles competition, Matu Scarborough picking up a victory over Joe Bryant, just keeping Matu Scarborough warm, keeping him in the ring, allowing him to get as much work as possible and improve his skills. Match rating of 37. Another tag team match, Maxwell Ham and Super Monkey taking on Turner Spittler and Jeremy Funderburk, and Ham and Super Monkey would actually pick up the victory here on the back of some nice performances. Super Monkey with a 42, Maxwell Ham 53, Funderburk 26, and Turner Spittler at 51. So good work from some prominent guys and Jeremy Funderburk, just keeping him busy, keeping him on the show. But our show itself is going to get going with Rahan Marlowe in exhibition competition. He once again came up short against Neil Allman when competing for the WHAM Heavyweight Championship at the last event. He has lost his top spot as contender, and he's got to prove himself to get it back. He's got an in-ring performance of 55, and he does a great job for himself there. Brian Hatcher with a 34, and we get a match rating of 51. Tag team action featuring the Wellingtons going up against Marceliano Giago and Woodrow Gunter. Giago and Gunter have both been busy with the Wellington boys, so to speak, as Woodrow Gunter picked up a victory over Chuck Wellington outside the state lines of Oklahoma, so he could not be competing for Chuck Wellington's Openweight Championship. However, Chuck Wellington then turned around and gave Marceliano a title shot, defeated Marceliano, and here we are. Marceliano, for the first time, I believe, getting over a 25, scoring himself a 26. However, this will be his final appearance here in the WHAM. Duke Wellington got a 29 and Chuck got a 33 as the Wellington boys picked up the victory, and Woodrow Gunter got a 47. Now, we've got a segment here, as Hermenegildo Ramirez angrily calls out RT Lincoln, demand that he come to the ring. The new junior heavyweight champion would satisfy this request and fearlessly come to confront the former champion. Hermenegildo Ramirez spits that RT Lincoln knows he shouldn't be the champion right now, citing his constant attempts to have come up short in the past. Lincoln retorts that Ramirez of all people should have no issue with multiple title shots, reminding him how many times Ramirez came up short before becoming champion. Lincoln reasons with Ramirez, promising a title match at the next Amazing Grappling Spectacle. Segment rating of 59, we finally see a solid angle featuring Hermenegildo Ramirez. I'm not going to give him all the credit. I'm sure RT Lincoln definitely played his part, but this is one of the best segments that we've seen that doesn't have a Neil Allman type in it. So good work here. Of course, Hermenegildo Ramirez has the popularity to support that, but he just hasn't had the performance ability. So moving on into our next match, we've got Sebastian Morales defeating Rocco Lockwood in decisive fashion. And remember that Sebastian Morales has decided to start an open challenge to get himself kind of back on the radar of notable WHAM heavyweights. This open challenge begins with Rocco Lockwood, former tag team champion, looking to prove himself, having some doubts after Matu Scarborough basically denounced him as the problem and the reason why they lost the tag team titles. He lost the ensuing match against Matu Scarborough, so he's trying to find himself a little bit. Unfortunately, he comes up short against the former heavyweight champion Sebastian Morales, and we get a match rating of 49. Junior heavyweight action as Archie Filer makes his way back into one-on-one competition. He made a huge return at the Glory Gauntlet event in the Glory Gauntlet match, coming so close to becoming junior heavyweight champion. However, Hermenegildo Ramirez pulled some shenanigans after being eliminated, and thus causing Archie Filer to lose that opportunity. He gets a chance to go one-on-one with Rolla Boy, who's a well-known and respected name. However, Rolla Boy hasn't had the most success here in the WAM so far. He picks up another loss here, and we've got a match rating of 54. Our main event of the night, Tag Team Championships on the line as Friedrich Herzog and Moses Lilia take on the Dark Carnival, Blue Mage and Craig Bean. Now, the Dark Carnival have just shunned and removed Black Bull from the WAM, carrying his motionless body out of the arena, much like they did with Black Demon, who has not been seen since either. They've got some momentum, they've got an aura that they are destructive, and they are given a tag team match here tonight. Funny enough, they are former tag team champions themselves, as they are basically the reason the tag team titles became vacated, as they took it from the Wellington Boys. The Wellington Boys were salty, and they had the titles removed and made dormant. However, regarding this match, we see a phenomenal performance from Friedrich Herzog as he got a 66. Moses Lilia got a 32, Craig Bean got a 43, and Blue Mage got a 47. Moses Lilia, he's a few matches in now, but he's still rusty, so we're hoping to see that go away soon. But Friedrich Herzog absolutely putting the team on his back there. 66 in-ring performance, that's great. Overall, we get a match rating of 54 for the tag team titles and the Pride, Herzog and Lilia. However, these boys are not going to let the show go on without making an appearance. After the match, Neil Allman and Bronson Fraley come out to congratulate the champions on their victory. They'll make it extremely clear, those titles should belong to the best team in the WAM, and make a challenge for the titles at the next event. Match rating of 62, as we've got Bronson Fraley and Neil Allman making it known that they want a shot at the tag team titles at the Fortnite Fisticuffs. So that gives us an overall show rating of 54, increasing our popularity in all of our broadcasted regions. Top to bottom, really good show, and anything that didn't include the Wellington Boys had a 49 or above. That wasn't on the pre-show anyway, so great work here, really encouraging stuff. And after the show, we praise Riker Zucker, Kenny Lyles, and Rahan Marlowe, profiting $9,600, nearly 10 grand. Great stuff. And we do bump from 44 to 45 in the mid-cell. The confirmation is in that Marceliano will be leaving the company after competing in his final match, and like I said when we were deciding to get rid of him, his personality benefit has basically been replaced and he is less than serviceable in the ring. So if we need another positive personality, there's a few guys that I actually have on my short list that I'm looking to add to the company at some point anyway, and we're gonna end up employing a bunch of women. I shouldn't say a bunch, but a small handful. So we're good on Marceliano. But thank you, sir, as you were crucial to pulling us out of that awful state that we were in. However, you can see that we are still all good without him. And I've kind of been going back and forth with myself on this one, but we are going to change our head trainer over from Sebastian Morales to Jay Letter. Morales' lack of experience means that he might struggle in this role, and we have seen a tangible morale decrease with a handful of guys because of that poor atmosphere. So we're going to take a look. You can see Jay Letter has got no red flags. He's actually the only one in this case, and we're going to make him the men's trainer, but we've got to remove Sebastian Morales first. That instantly made him irritated. That's unfortunate. We're going to bring Jay Letter in, and Veronica Letter is extremely happy. She gets even happier. So we now got to deal with Sebastian Morales being irritated. It's unfortunate. He's rather annoyed at being removed from the inner circle. I'm sorry, brother. I didn't want to do it, but I had to. We do have a few different character ideas that we can use for him. We're going to use this character specific. It was a success, and now he's happy again, so we're okay. No big deal with Sebastian Morales. He's a good guy. However, we've got a few more character ideas that we can play with that we're going to use. A safe bet for Rahan Marlowe. It was a success. He goes from irritated to normal. And we're going to try it on another irritated guy. This one's a near certainty for Riker Zucker. It was a success, but he is still irritated. Bad news, unfortunately, Woodrow Gunter and Kuni Hashiguchi have broken up as a couple, no longer dating, no longer giving us that extra little boost backstage, and we're now down to average now that they are a detriment versus a positive. So very unfortunate, no longer benefiting us in that way. But we're going to bounce back. We're going to be just fine. And we are here and ready to go for the next edition of the Fortnite Fisticuffs. We've got some pre-show matches. The first of those being Brawler Boy taking on Kamari Flanders junior heavyweight action. Brawler Boy picks up the victory with an in-ring performance of 38. Kamari Flanders gets a 25. Not great for him. We're used to seeing him around the 30s. We'd like to see him stay there. Match rating of 37 as we get things going. Intergender tag team action as Veronica Letter and Kuni Hashiguchi continue to find themselves on opposite ends in these tag team matches, but we're going to get them in the ring with good competitors. And that's just how it's going to be until we establish this division. I probably sound like a broken record at this point, I'm sorry. However, really good numbers all around. Kuni Hashiguchi 54, Archie Filer 61. Those two pick up the victory. Veronica Letter with a 48 and Brian Hatcher with a 40. Now to get the actual show going, Sebastian Morales opens the show in the ring, welcoming the crowd. Morales is once again out here to pose his open challenge. Nothing big here, just an official introduction into the show and the open challenge of Sebastian Morales. And we get a great match between he and Super Monkey, Sebastian Morales with an in-ring performance of 64 as he picks up the victory, and Super Monkey with a 46, match rating of 58, and we continue to see Sebastian Morales looking good. Now we've got Maxwell Ham and Turner Spittler going one-on-one. These two shared the ring in a triple threat at the Glory Gauntlet event, and Maxwell Ham came out victorious. This time Turner Spittler going one-on-one, and he got the victory thanks to an in-ring performance of 53. However, Maxwell Ham, great job for himself with a performance of 55. These two gentlemen give us a match rating of 53. Up next, Woodrow Gunter is interviewed by Riker Zucker. Gunter makes a public challenge for the Oklahoma Openweight Championship. He states that there are no loopholes that can keep Chuck from putting his title on the line tonight. Unfortunately for Gunter, Riker Zucker would inform him that none of the Wellington brothers are here for the show tonight. The Wellington brothers, very much aware that we are back in Oklahoma, maybe their absence was intentional. But Woodrow Gunter delivers a segment rating of 37. Another nice heavyweight matchup next as Rahan Marlowe and Matu Scarborough are going one-on-one. Matu Scarborough has been turning heads ever since he came into the WAM, putting on great performances and collecting some big victories as well as a tag team championship. However, he cannot get it done here tonight. Rahan Marlowe proven that he is in fact that man, and Matu Scarborough coming real close. These two put on a really good competitive physical match. However, in the end, Rahan Marlowe reinforcing his elite status, picking up the victory here. In-ring performance of 57 for Marlowe. Matu Scarborough got a 50, and it says that he was really off of his game, so we know that he could do better than a 50. Great stuff all around, really encouraging. Though following a highly competitive match, Rahan Marlowe extends his hand to show a sign of respect to the young competitor. However, Matus does not shake Marlowe's hand, nodding his head in defiance before leaving the ring area. Matu Scarborough, we know that he is feeling himself quite often and quite a bit. And despite Rahan Marlowe giving him the nod, saying, "Great match," Matu Scarborough does not accept that handshake. So we just get a small little segment here, 42 rating for that, not bad. Now our junior heavyweight main event, a junior heavyweight championship match. RT Lincoln and Joel Cartwright have been at odds with one another for quite some time, largely centered around the junior heavyweight championship and their pursuit. This is a definitive match between these two to truly determine who is the better man. And in this instance, RT Lincoln came out on top, retaining his junior heavyweight championship for his first successful title defense. Now, Joel Cartwright may have come up short, but he actually got an in-ring performance of 57, better than the champion's 53, but all in all, these two give us a match rating of 59. Great work. And our actual main event has got the Pride back in the main event, once again defending their tag team championships, this time against a pair of juggernauts, Neil Allman and Bronson Fraley. And to put it in short, Friedrich Herzog and Moses Lilia are able to successfully defend the tag team championships, walking out of here still champs. However, that wasn't just cut and dry. We already saw him tonight, but Turner Spittler would come back out towards the ring area ultimately distracting Neil Allman and Bronson Fraley. Bronson Fraley's the legal man at this point, but Neil Allman is getting into a back and forth, a verbal altercation with Turner Spittler. Turner Spittler is clearly distracting Neil Allman, unable to help Bronson Fraley, unable to come to any aid, and the two big boys, Moses Lilia and Friedrich Herzog, are able to just put Bronson Fraley down. Kenny Lyles is over there trying to separate Turner Spittler and Neil Allman, trying to keep them separated rather, telling Turner Spittler to get on out of here. However, Friedrich Herzog, the savvy veteran, recognizing the situation and the opportunity at hand, and they seal their tag team championships with a victory after pinning Bronson Fraley. So big match rating of 58, even with the zero chemistry between Neil Allman and Bronson Fraley. That's good stuff. Friedrich Herzog with another phenomenal performance at 65. Moses Lilia at a 38 despite being off his game. Bronson Fraley at 41 and Neil Allman at 52. And of course, their performances got dinged thanks to their lack of chemistry. Neil Allman is not only furious, but in disbelief with the actions of Turner Spittler. Allman freaks out in animated fashion while Turner Spittler laughs from the curtain, pointing at the heavyweight champion. He also does kind of like the cutthroat hand gesture a little bit, just signifying that Turner Spittler is coming after Neil Allman. This segment gets a rating of 57, and altogether, the show wraps up in a strong way. We've got a show rating of 57, increasing our popularity in all 4 regions that we are broadcasting in. And despite a Woodrow Gunter interview, all of our matches and angles were really looking pretty good tonight. We praise Chris Brownfield, Woodrow Gunter, and Brian Hatcher after the show, profiting $10,886 and bumping from 45 to 46 in the Mid-South, 24 to 25 in the Midwest, and 19 to 20 in the Southeast. Now there's something that I've been looking forward to doing. For those that have been watching this series, you would know that we faced a really tough financial situation, necessitating the Deus Ex Machina of Beef Wellington coming in and bailing out our company to keep this company alive. Barnabas Beef Wellington bailed us out about $30,000. We're sitting at just under $39,000 in our bank account. So, in an act of good faith to myself and to Barnabas Beef Wellington, and to kind of free myself from that handicap, that loan that I was receiving, we're going to set our money to zero. So we are restarting our funds, but in essence, we have freed ourselves of the shackles that is that payment, that debt. So you can see we are back to having $0 available. However, with the strong financial performances after each show, I'm not worried about it. I'm feeling totally fine. Kita Haji Kukui's contract was coming to an end, so we re-signed him for another year. He accepted, and I certainly didn't want to lose him, so I'm glad to keep him. And before we get into the next event, we got to go check on the Goof. They held their 3rd event, and you can see that their numbers are starting to get a little bit better, get out of the red. Albie Dewberry headlining shows, you love to see it, defeating Randy Edson to retain his championship with an in-ring performance of 32. You also see Black Demon having some success, picking up a victory and getting a nice in-ring performance comparatively. And I just love seeing this whole thing just take place. Fritz Hattendorf is back to getting W's. He's only got an in-ring performance of 16 though, so I think we made the right decision getting rid of him. Of course, it would be better in the Wham. However, just keeping tabs on the Goof. However, it is time for the Amazing Grappling Spectacle 88, held in front of 1,046 people in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We've got a pre-show match between Maxwell Ham, Rocco Lockwood. Maxwell Ham, of course, taking care of business here against Rocco Lockwood. Maxwell with an in-ring performance of 56, Rocco with a performance of 27. These two get a match rating of 44 to get things going. Now in the next match, we've got tag team action, pre-show action, Dark Carnival going up against Jeremy Funderburk and Jackson Barden. Blue Mage and Craig Bean were in fact able to take care of business with nice in-ring performances. Craig Bean at a 45, Blue Mage at a 46, Jackson Barden at a 28, as well as Jeremy Funderburk. Those boys actually were not off of their game, so that's good to see. Segment rating of 38 though, but we do get a victory for the Dark Carnival as they just continue to establish themselves as mean dudes, and they're becoming a bit less harmless as they were when they began. Now the first match of the night is going to see Woodrow Gunter and Joe Bryant going one-on-one. This match was also supposed to be on the pre-show, but it seems that I goofed and I didn't get on there, so just roll with me here. However, we have Woodrow Gunter defeating Joe Bryant one-on-one. Woodrow Gunter with an in-ring performance of 48, Joe Bryant with a 25, and we got a match rating of 42. We are in fact not in Oklahoma, so we do not see any kind of Woodrow Gunter Chuck Wellington shenanigans. Neil Allman and Bronson Fraley are in the ring to begin the show. Neil Allman has got his trusty microphone and begins to make his claim why Turner Spittler should be released and banned from the Wham. He cites the interference in the tag team title match, but before he could get far into his tangent, Turner Spittler made his way from the back, grabbing a microphone from the announce desk. Turner Spittler claims that he's no different than Bronson Fraley and Neil Allman, willing to do whatever it takes to win. And that's exactly why Turner Spittler believes he will be the one to shut Neil Allman up for good. However, Sebastian Morales would insert himself into this debacle. Taking another microphone from the announce table, Morales reminds Spittler of their recent matches and his victories. This angers Spittler, but Allman interjects. The champion states neither man will get a shot at the title, but if they can manage to coexist, they will get a match tonight. So the segment and the night gets started with Bronson Fraley and Neil Allman speaking to the crowd. They get interrupted by Turner Spittler. Turner Spittler basically says that you paint me as this bad guy, but you're no different than I am. You are just as bad, and we're not as different as you may think and as you may claim. This obviously is not something that Neil Allman and Bronson Fraley appreciate. However, Sebastian Morales pokes his head in there. This first kind of like three-way promo thing going on that we've seen before. But Sebastian Morales just says, listen, Turner Spittler, if you're looking for a title match, I think I should be the one to receive a title match, given the fact that I beat you decisively, you know, this, that, and the third. So all in all, big segment to set up our heavyweight main event of the evening. Segment rating of 54. Our first true match of the actual show has got 4 junior heavyweights competing in a free-for-all match as Archie Filer, Joel Cartwright, Roller Boy, and Super Monkey take part in this contest, and Archie Filer would be the one to pick up a victory, picking right back up where he left off with great in-ring performances and picking up victories, picking up momentum, and building a lot of steam. We do get a match rating of 58, great work by Archie Filer, in-ring performance of 64, phenomenal. Joel Cartwright got a 55, Roller Boy got a 41, that's what we like to see. Super Monkey with a 49, also really good stuff. So the junior heavyweights just showing out, putting up a great match. Up next, we've got the first individual contest with Moses Lilia, and he is still rusty apparently, but he's got a match with Brian Hatcher. Moses Lilia, of course, the big man, does pick up a victory over Brian Hatcher. However, he only gets an in-ring performance of 31, whereas Brian Hatcher gets a 39. I thought we'd get a little bit better. I guess he has been working exclusive tag team matches, so that might have something to do with different rust levels. But all in all, match rating of 38. Nice work by Brian Hatcher. He has really redeemed himself and become a capable hand in the ring, and I have noticed that, and I've used him a lot more. But we've got some more stuff. Friedrich Herzog congratulates Moses Lilia after the match, looking very pleased with his new protege. This segment doesn't actually have anything significant to it, but it just kind of reiterates that Friedrich Herzog is much happier with the results that he's got with Moses Lilia versus what he had with Fritz Hattendorf and Oscar Kohler. So segment rating of 55 here. We've got more good matches, as Matu Scarborough and Rahan Marlowe, opponents at the last event, are now teaming up to take on the team of Barakui, Diego Berrigan and Kitahachi Kakui. And all 4 of these guys put in some great work here. However, the team of Rahan Marlowe and Matu Scarborough really stood out. Marlowe with a 60, Scarborough with a 59. Barakui each got a 43, so good for them. But Matu Scarborough has truly just transcended the ranks and moved up into a prominent spot here on the card, and now he's rubbing shoulders with Rahan Marlowe, picking up victories with former heavyweight champions. We get a match rating of 56 here, and we have a segment afterwards as another intense confrontation is shared between Rahan Marlowe and Matu Scarborough. This time, Rohan Marlowe does not offer to shake hands, but points directly at his tag team partner, telling him something that could not be picked up from outside of the ring before heading back. So last time we saw these two share the ring post-match, Rohan Marlowe went for a handshake, Matu Scarborough turned it down. Another tense confrontation here, and Rohan Marlowe, clearly it seems that bridge has been burned a little bit, and we get a segment rating of 51 as this thing between these two just continues to blossom. Now we've got some women's competition as Veronica Lutter goes one-on-one with Birbidia Abeta. Great work here by these two, Veronica Lutter specifically with an in-ring performance of 50. Birbidia Abeta has really just defined herself as a consistent and solid women's competitor. She gets a 37, and these two put on a match rating of 45. Great work by Veronica Lutter here as she continues to establish a name for herself. And then we've got Kunihashi Gucci going up against Sloan Knutson in one-on-one competition. And you can see that Sloan Knutson is just not the kind of opponent that Birbidia Abeta is. And these two only get a match rating of 36, despite Kunihashi Gucci getting an in-ring performance of 54 for herself. Sloan Knutson all the way down there at 16. We specifically had these matches back-to-back. From an audience perspective, you could see the fact that Kunihashi Gucci and Veronica Lutter are once again on another level from the other female competitors here in the WAM. As a fan watching in the seat, you'd see Veronica Lutter, you'd be like, damn, she was showing out, she was really doing her thing. You know, Birbidia is not bad, but Veronica Lutter is a dog. And then you see Kunihashi Gucci come out right after that and basically one-up her in a way, and you're just like, damn. So that's kind of the picture that we're painting here. I hope that was immersive for you. But we're ready to move on now that I've made a fool of myself. Now we've got our heavyweight main event. Neil Allman and Bronson Fraley in tag team action, the Wham OGs taking on Sebastian Morales and Turner Spittler. This match went nearly 13 minutes long, so that means Morales and Spittler were able to coexist well enough to make this a match. However, ultimately, the match would break down as Sebastian Morales and Turner Spittler would have constant miscommunication, constantly getting under the skin of one another, and ultimately that just led to the team breaking down as far as its unison. It didn't get physical or anything like that. However, they just totally broke down, were unable to work with each other, and Neil Allman and Bronson Fraley were able to take advantage of that. Neil Allman would end up pinning Sebastian Morales, and the Wham OGs end their night standing tall. We see Bronson Fraley with a 39, Neil Allman with a 50. Of course, they have bad chemistry, so that is to be expected that they get dinged. Turner Spittler with a 54, and Sebastian Morales with a 64, really helping out the match, as did the commentary. So we get a match rating of 58. Overall, pretty good work here from our heavyweights. However, that's not the last match of the night, as we've got Hermenegildo Ramirez and RT Lincoln going one-on-one for the Junior Heavyweight Championship. Hermenegildo Ramirez lost the title at the Glory Gauntlet event in the Glory Gauntlet match, and he is determined to get it back. And that's exactly what he does here, as he is able to defeat RT Lincoln in one of the shortest title reigns of any kind of title here that we've seen in the WAM. It probably is the shortest, as RT Lincoln, despite being a really good competitor and having a really comfortable and soft spot in my heart, he's not the same level of Hermenegildo Ramirez. And Ramirez was grinding for so long in the junior heavyweight division. It's only right that he retakes his spot at atop of the junior heavyweight division, becoming a two-time junior heavyweight champion, and basically highlighting the fact that that Glory Gauntlet match, losing the title, may have been a fluke. Match rating of 63, which, if I'm not mistaken, becomes the greatest match in WAM history. So truly great stuff from Hermenegildo Ramirez, as he got an in-ring performance of 64. RT Lincoln did his part with an in-ring performance of 49. These boys went out to steal the show, and they did just that. So overall, we get a show rating of 61 that also might be rivaling the best show rating of all time as well, increasing the popularity in all four regions. And despite a couple lackluster matches, as Sloan Knutson brought down her match with Kunihashi Gucci, and Moses Lilia didn't have the best match with Brian Hatcher, we did some great things a lot of 50s throughout the entire match card, and both main events, the heavyweight main event and the junior heavyweight main event, really delivered. After the show, we praised Kitahachi Kukui, Blue Mage, and Joel Cartwright. We were able to profit over $12,000 from this show, immediately bumping our finances up from that zero that we were just sitting at, and that is a good thing. And the only tangible popularity increase is in the Southwest, as it goes from 20 to 21. However, that's going to do it for this episode. Make sure you stick around, because in the next episode we are really going to put our foot on the gas and make some big changes. This company is in a totally different spot than it was a few months ago, and we are ready to begin some serious growth and expansion. So if you've been watching along, let me know down below in the comments so I can show you some love and let you know how much I appreciate you. But thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take it easy.